Archaeologists have discovered a vast tunnel under an ancient Egyptian temple that may lead to Cleopatra's lost tomb.
Experts have been looking for Cleopatra's tomb for a very long time. There are many ideas about where the last queen of Egypt was buried, and researchers are still looking for her tomb. Did she get her wish to be buried next to Antony, the man she loved so much? Is the tomb of Antony and Cleopatra really the tomb of Cleopatra? And what are the most popular ideas about where it is? Archaeologists have discovered a subterranean tunnel in an ancient temple that leads to Cleopatra's long-lost tomb. Will this historic discovery change history and offer the answer to one of the world's greatest mysteries? This is the story of two exceptional women who were separated by thousands of years and went in quest of each other. Cleopatra was the most powerful and wealthy lady of her day, making her the most iconic character in the history of the ancient world. Her wealth and power are unfathomable. In the documentary titled Searching for Cleopatra, which was produced by The Nature of Things, the subject's political brilliance, academic achievements, and relationships with historical figures such as Julius Caesar and Mark Antony are investigated. Kathleen Martinez, a former lawyer who is now an archaeologist, is the latest person to be fascinated by the legend surrounding Cleopatra. This narrative has captivated the mind of everyone from Shakespeare to Hollywood, as well as generations of historians. Martinez has focused nearly 2 decades of her life on solving what is arguably the most perplexing riddle of all time. The location of Cleopatra's tomb has never been discovered. But how is it even remotely possible that the most famous woman in the history of the ancient world has been lost to history? Martinez explains why Cleopatra was so successful. Because she was the most cunning of them all. In the year 2022, researchers uncovered a massive and stunning tunnel underneath a temple in the ancient ruined city of Taposiris Magna on the Egyptian shore. The tunnel, which the specialists refer to as a geometric miracle, was found beneath the temple. Kathleen Martinez of the University of Santo Domingo in the Dominican Republic and her colleagues discovered the structure 13 meters or 43 feet below the ground when they were conducting continuing excavations and research of the temple. An amazing 1,305 meters of sandstone had been cut through the tunnel, which stood at a height of just 2 meters. According to a statement released in November 2022 by the Egyptian Ministry of Tourism and Antiquities, its layout is astonishingly comparable to that of the 1,036-meter tunnel of Eupalinos, which was an aqueduct built on the island of Samos in the 6th century BCE. When it was first built, the conduit set new standards for both its design and its construction, earning it the reputation of being an engineering miracle. Even if the Taposiris Magna tunnel isn't the only tunnel of its kind, the engineering behind it nonetheless is incredibly astounding. Although there are similarities between the Taposiris Magna tunnel and the Eupalinos tunnel, the function of the Taposiris Magna tunnel is not understood at this time. Parts of the tunnel are located underwater. Martinez, who's been working at Taposiris Magna since 2004 in the search for the lost tomb of Cleopatra VII, thinks that the tunnel could be a potential lead in the search for the tomb. In the past, the excavations have produced evidence that appears to point to the well-known queen, who was also the last of the Ptolemies. Ptolemy II, son of the famous general under Alexander the Great and Cleopatra's ancestor, established the city of Taposiris Magna in the year 280 BCE. Cleopatra herself governed Egypt from the year 51 BCE until her death by suicide in the year 30 BCE. The group has come to the conclusion that the temple was devoted to the god Osiris and his queen, the goddess Isis. Isis was the goddess with whom Cleopatra sought to cultivate a close relationship. Coins with the names and likeness of Cleopatra and Alexander the Great have been discovered there, as have statues of the goddess Isis. In addition, burial shafts with burials that date back to the Greco-Roman period were discovered within the temple. It is probable that Cleopatra and her husband Mark Antony were buried in tombs that were very similar to one another. This would be the case if their bodies were ever discovered in the area. The researchers were unsure as to whether or not the tunnel could lead to these long-lost tombs. Nonetheless, it is possible that the more investigation will provide additional information. The following step will consist of exploring the Mediterranean Sea that is close by. A number of earthquakes struck the shore between the years 320 and 1303 CE, which resulted in the collapse of a portion of the temple, which was thereafter consumed by the waves. In addition, earlier digs had uncovered a tunnel network that extended all the way from Lake Meryl to the Mediterranean Sea. It doesn't matter if the tombs are discovered or not. If we excavate these ruins thoroughly, we might be able to learn more about the fascinating ancient city. The tunnel has already produced several valuable finds, including shards of pottery and a chunk of limestone cut into a rectangular shape. It has been 13 years since Zahi Hawass, who was the Minister of Antiquities at the time, made the following statement. If we uncover the tomb of Cleopatra and Mark Antony, it'll be the most important discovery of the 21st century. Even if we did not find the tomb, we discovered significant findings both within and outside the temple here. Martinez, a former criminal lawyer who's now an amateur archaeologist, has held the opinion for a significant amount of time that the ancient queen was interred at the Tamposiris Magna Temple. She started digging when she successfully petitioned the Egyptian authorities to do research in the area. Although she hasn't uncovered Cleopatra's tomb yet, she has made numerous other significant discoveries over the past 15 or so years, including the tunnel. She is persisting in her search for the long-lost tomb of the ancient queen, and she believes that she is coming closer to her goal. The following is an excerpt from an interview that she gave in 2009 to the Heritage Key blog. If there's 1% of a chance that the last queen of Egypt could be buried there, it's my duty to search for her. How the investigation into Cleopatra's tomb first got underway. Martinez started looking for Cleopatra's tomb in Egypt around 20 years ago. She was certain that Tamposiris Magna, which was dedicated to the god of the dead Osiris, was a leading option for the queen's burial location after doing research for more than a decade in a non-stop manner. Martinez was able to finally secure a meeting with Zahi Hawass, an archaeologist and former head of Egypt's Supreme Council of Antiquities, in Cairo. This achievement came after countless failed attempts and a number of emails that were disregarded. Despite the fact that work has been going on since 2004, the most exciting find to date is the one that was just made. Martinez was quoted as saying, "This is the perfect place for the tomb of Cleopatra. Even if there's only a 1% possibility that the last queen of Egypt is buried there, it's my responsibility to look for her. If we're successful in finding the tomb, it'll be the most significant archaeological find of the 21st century. Even if we do not find the tomb, we have made important findings in the area both inside the temple and outside." The excavations have also uncovered corpses with golden tongues, as well as a cemetery with mummies decorated in the Greco-Roman style who are buried with their backs to the temple. This lends credence to Martinez's contention that the site in question had housed a royal tomb. In addition, 22 coins bearing her picture, as well as a bust that many believe to be a representation of Cleopatra, were discovered. Queen Cleopatra of ancient Egypt was of Greek descent. The question of where Cleopatra, the well-known queen of ancient Egypt, came from in terms of her ancestry has been a hot issue of discussion for many years. Cleopatra was of Greek descent despite the fact that she was the ruler of Egypt. Cleopatra VII, Philopator, was the last monarch of the ancient Greek Ptolemaic kingdom in Egypt. She reigned over Egypt from the years 51 to 30 BC and ruled for a total of 30 years. The Roman Empire eventually assumed control of the country after she passed away. It is a well-known fact that she took her own life shortly after her husband, the Roman leader Mark Antony, also took his. It is thought that the two were laid to rest in the same grave. Ptolemy I Soter, a Greek general serving in Alexander the Great's army, is credited with establishing the Ptolemaic dynasty in the year 305 BC. Ptolemy established a dynasty that, despite being based in Egypt, retained a significant amount of its Greek culture. Cleopatra was the first Ptolemaic ruler to learn Egyptian, as the Ptolemaic rulers that came before her could only communicate in Greek. She was a direct descendant of Ptolemy. It was thought that she was also fluent in Ethiopian, Hebrew, Aramaic, Arabic, Syriac, Median, and Parthian, in addition to Latin. The name Cleopatra originates from the ancient Greek terms for glory and father. Both meanings are pronounced similarly. According to this interpretation, her name means glory of her father. Cleopatra was renowned for her intelligence and wit, and she was said to be very attractive and persuasive. These attributes added to her mystique throughout the years, and they continue to do so now. 2 pieces of papyrus that bear the handwriting of Cleopatra may be found in a glass exhibit at the Franklin Institute in Philadelphia. Cleopatra was the last pharaoh of Egypt, and her fabled beauty has served as an inspiration for painters and filmmakers. The Greek inscription on the document that reads, "Make it happen," refers to a tax relief that was granted to a friend of her husband, Mark Antony. It is one of 150 objects that are being displayed at an exhibition that is showcasing the most recent discoveries that have been made in the pursuit of her long-lost tomb. There are artifacts in the exhibition Cleopatra, the search for the last queen of Egypt, which is open to the public until January, that have never before been shown. According to John Norman, who is the president of the show designer Arts and Exhibitions International, the story of Cleopatra has drama, trauma, sex, murder, and war, and he designed the exhibit. What else could possibly be better than that? The ancient Egyptian village of Taposiris Magna is where these items were discovered and excavated. More recent recoveries are from deep in the Mediterranean Sea, from the ancient cities of Heracleion and Canopus. Cleopatra's palace was damaged by earthquakes and tidal waves about 2,000 years ago, and these sites lie deep in the Mediterranean Sea. Visitors get the opportunity to witness two statues made of red granite depicting a king and a queen from the Ptolemaic dynasty that Cleopatra ruled. A film may be seen nearby that shows portions of the statues being pulled out of the water just off the coast of modern-day Alexandria in the Mediterranean Sea. A sculpted head of the son of Cleopatra and her lover Julius Caesar, as well as slingshot bullets that could have been used by the Roman soldiers that terminated Cleopatra's reign from 69 to 30 BC, are also on exhibit. The exhibition relates to the narrative of the woman who was trained in mathematics, medicine, and many foreign languages, and who was successful in wooing two of the most powerful men in the Roman world. She also earned the loyalty of the Egyptian people by fusing their old gods with those of her Greek culture, and she became an expert in all three of these fields. It also depicts her decision to end her life by taking her own life, which she did rather than submit to the Romans, who had vanquished her, and publicly humiliate her in front of everyone. The exhibition is separated into two parts: the underwater operation and the excavations at Taposiris Magna. Taposiris Magna is located around 50 kilometers west of Alexandria and is the location of the hunt of Cleopatra's Tomb, which is being led by Zahi Hawass, the Secretary General of Egypt's Supreme Council of Antiquities. Hawass has high hopes that the tomb, which he describes as one of the most important archaeological discoveries in the history of the world, will be located thanks to his work. The continuing hold that Cleopatra has had on the collective imagination is demonstrated by the creative images of her that have been created over the course of the centuries, as well as the Hollywood adaptations of her story. Film clips show Elizabeth Taylor as Cleopatra from 1963 and Vivian Leigh from 1945. According to a remark included in the show's closing segment, Cleopatra is also recognized as serving as a model for the liberation of women. According to what is written there, the last of the pharaohs emerged as an emancipated, modern woman who was beautiful, intelligent, accomplished, and powerful. Hey, that's all for today's video, but we'll be right back with more soon. Please don't forget to give this one a thumbs up and subscribe to our channel, and thanks for watching.